Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome again to this segment of the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm Bruce Broussard, your host, and by George, we're going to have quite a show today. We're going to call it Education Rally. You know, the bottom line is that we want to educate the voting public about your definition in politics, the do's and the don'ts and all that other good stuff. But I think it's very important now because we're kind of like in fact, I'm doing this because we've been wanting to focus on our issues here in the Pacific Northwest, in Portland. And we've talked a little bit about the fact that Portland, all the issues that we became national, international, and this, that, and the other. And we've got a major concern from the standpoint of getting our city great again, or the city of roses and things of that nature. And then guess what? And the only way we're going to be able to change that is to have an effective representative lobbying for this issue, so that we can all be a part of, okay? And then the most important person is the voting person, because we have our legislation, we have our city council, we have our county commissioners and all this. These are all employees of the voting public, okay? And we need those folks, because that's our system of government that we have. Okay, we're going to do that, and we're going to talk about that piece. And then naturally, we're going to talk about our representation in Washington. You know, and when you see the White House and when you see the president, I mean, you hear the word congressional delegation, or the Congress. So what the senatorial arena? What is that all about? And how do we, as the voting public, represent there? See, a lot of us don't realize we are really in charge. We are the employers. If you want to just take those kind of there's employer and employee. The elected officials, those individuals that get elected to office, I identify them as employees, okay? So we're going to have that discussion. I got John here. He's our fact checker, and he's our future from that standpoint, because he needs to know and make sure that he brings, because we're the senior component of this whole component. And in all due respect, he tends to know a little bit more than we do, but we've got the history. We've got the history, and it's very important that he get that base, because without that base, we wouldn't have a city, because he's energetic. He wanted to do it all at one time, and it didn't work that way. Okay, so but anyway, John is here with me today, and we're just going to have that discussion, and we're going to kind of like I said, it's an education. It's very important. So we got a lot of issues that are on the table that are very, very important, and we just had a major situation with the city of Portland. Yeah. Because at one time we had just we had four city commissioners and a mayor, and you know that was the system. And then we needed 3 votes, blah blah blah. And normally the mayor is pretty well in charge of that whole deal. But the bottom line is representation. So now we've got 12 city commissioners, and we've got city council, and we got no mayor with no impact. But anyway,
the mayor can't overturn anything.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna go into. See, he's right on top of this stuff. He's jumping right, and that's good. Okay, so that's what we're going to do for this hour, and so bear with us, okay? And tell your friends and whatever to look at the Voters Digest, because this is very, very important, so that you won't be so stressful and getting angry with your neighbors or upset about this and upset about that, and talking about people personally and things of that nature. It's very important, very important. Okay, with that, that's the show. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Bruce.
Appreciate this. Well, let's see, where do we start? Let's start with something that will get their attention right off the bat. Okay. And we had a show in regards to this past Sunday about Donald Trump. The president.
Talked about Donald Trump.
And that's if the public, the voting public, looked at the news. And most of you right now are not looking at the news. You're not even reading the newspapers. And it's very important that you understand what that's all about. And so that's why we're going to be getting into this. So what we're going to do now is that we're just going to get into, and we're going to start talking about that particular issue right off the bat. I think we left off with the fact that John and I we just had our discussion talking about just what's going to happen now. And in all due respect, you have to wait and see. because right now there's no agreement between Ukraine and the U.S. and the position of the position of the U.S. through the President of the United States with his delegation.
Right.
I mean, he had the Vice President there, and he also had the Secretary of State, and they're a very responsible person. But they had a meeting and they had a plan, and it wasn't signed.
Right,
Okay,
and
that's it.
we need to at least put a little preface to this. This airs a little bit in between the meeting and when this show will air. We're taping it a couple of weeks after, before, right? Okay. And Donald Trump moves really fast, and so things could have changed between the meeting and now.
Yeah.
So
and right up front with it, and when it changed, we'll talk to that.
Right. So the next time we meet, this could
21st.
On the 21st, things could have changed.
But that's what the show will be on the 21st.
So we'll talk more about it on the 21st when we meet. But at this point, no deal has been struck on the peace negotiations between Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah, that's what we talked about.
And during the last, you're right. I know you just said that, but the
okay.
But it could have been struck between this Sunday and last Sunday, because that's how fast Donald Trump works.
And you and I are gonna make predictions. Hey, coming from this side of the chain, the deal. The old guy says there will be a deal.
You think so?
There will be. You said there's not a deal. No, there's not a deal right now.
Well,
No, there will be a deal.
You think so?
There will be a deal.
Okay.
I guarantee.
I sure hope so.
Well, see, thinking about, and since we're talking about that real quick, that's what we're getting into and explain. And the reason why I'm saying there's going to be a deal, we got quite a representative sitting in that seat as president of the United States right now. Mm-hmm. Okay, you got me? And he is a deal maker, and he's made it very clear about the fact that he is a deal maker. So ordinarily you don't say that publicly because you open your door to everything. No, he's got total control of his seat.
That's correct.
You got me? And even though the two entities were sitting there with him, he had the vice president there. That's his back cover. And he's very much involved in that process, just in case. He's making sure, because all due respect, there's some wild folks out there now. They're taking a shot at him a couple of times. Something's going to happen. But the vice president, J.D. Vance is a very interesting person, very articulate, very sharp. But he's the vice president. Mm-hmm. And that person sitting in that seat should be able to go right directly in that seat of presidency. That's the whole idea. That's the backup.
Yep.
Okay,
yep.
So that's a very important. So he was there. Now the Secretary of State basically goes around the world, for that matter. And he represents the United States from that standpoint. And so he basically has to go to all these different countries and talk about this and deals and this, that, and the other. But when he comes back, he does one of two things. If he picks up something out there that he has to come back and share, he shares it with the president. And then the president makes the decision after they sit down and talk about it. And then he goes out and hit specific folks. But then on the other hand, it's his job, for instance, he's the guy that has to talk to the Ukraine piece while he's going around and this, that, and the other. But in this particular case, that show that we just did the other day in regards to the mineral rights, the mineral aspect of it, mm-hmm. that's part of the Secretary of State's job. Yep. What I mean? Because we need those minerals. When one hears the deal business about the economy and this, that, and the other, every nation, every world nation, all these nations, they all have something to barter with. That's the whole key. They're trading stuff back and forth. And so consequently, when they start talking about the mineral rights that we were talking about the other day about the contract, President Trump was very clear that we're going to bring those jobs back here and the manufacturer back here. Taiwan now makes all those chips. Taiwan. Now that's their major hit right now, and it's sitting up there. Guess what? In the area of where? Area out there in that water next to China. See, and China's saying, and we want that peace, and here we are. And then what President Trump is basically saying, we're going to go on and manufacture those chips here, and that becomes another part of our economic base, if you will, for trade. But besides that, we don't have to jeopardize having a war with China over the Taiwan thing. See, that's a whole different ballgame. And so he's sitting in but he's representing us. So the name of the game is that those folks that were sitting there, and it was the first time, even though we were repeating this again, it was the first time I'd ever seen such transparency coming from a president's office.
Well, so to speak on this increasing U.S. manufacturing, one of the things that was announced this week, or in the past couple of weeks, were Apple vowing to invest $500 billion into the U.S. economy over the next few years, including creating jobs in the state of Oregon. It's going to be $500 billion into the economy of the United States and bring manufacturing to the United States. That's a big investment.
Well, the thing was interesting about it, when he made the announcement.
Trump made the announcement. President Trump made the announcement.
But you look in terms of why is it that he made the announcement as opposed to the statement? Well, the fact of the matter is, the man he's a developer. He's a businessman, and he's been meeting those people. He has to meet those people in his endeavors, and so consequently, they called him. Because he basically said to the corporations and whatever, look, we want you to stay in business. We want to increase your business. You're here in the United States. We'd like to have more jobs here. And now you understand what the problem is. Because Apple is basically, they're traders in other countries too, outside of the United States. And they want to make sure that they're in communication with the entities that are dealing with it here in the U.S., even with the State Department. In fact, Rubio might have been, the Secretary of State, might have been the person that basically was contacted by, I'm sure he contacted Apple too. Because
I don't know about that. I know that during the first few days of Donald Trump's presidency, he made an announcement at the World Economic Forum that if companies invest in American in creating jobs in America or work to manufacture in America, that he would work to drop the corporate tax rate from what it currently stands at to 15%.
Well, in some cases, they say if you just bring your businesses here, you don't have to worry about it.
No, there's still a corporate tax rate, but it would drop down to 15%.
Okay.
But they wouldn't be tariffed to the percentage that they are if they're importing from other countries to America. He said, if you bring your business here and make things in America, your corporate tax rate will be dropped down to 15%.
What about the tariff?
Tariffs, it depends on where you're doing business from. He's doing reciprocal tariffs to most every nation. So if they're tariffing us currently, he has imposed tariffs that are reciprocal to what they're tariffing us.
No. I'm just thinking. He made a statement about the fact that if you're doing business elsewhere, if you're doing business with us, I mean they're manufacturing and they're trying to sell their goods here. He said, look here, I tell you what, if you want to basically bring that company here in the United States, and this is what I understood, bring that company here, and we can employ folks to put that piece together, you don't have to worry about that piece.
Right. They would be if they were manufacturing in the United States, it would be a 15% corporate tax rate.
Okay, now you better check that out.
He said it at the World Economic Forum.
I'm not familiar with that.
I watched it on the news.
Wait a minute.
When it happened.
John, this man clearly said that if you're manufacturing something over here that we want, we're saying, okay, tell you what, if you bring your company over here, we will drop that tariff.
Right, the tariff.
That's what I'm talking about.
Not the corporate tax rate.
Right. I didn't say nothing about the corporate tax rate.
Right. So if they're importing, but they're still going to, anything that is imported in this country is going to get tariffed.
No, wait. You said corporate tax rate,
right?
And you said tariff. You said two pieces.
Okay, so if you're importing goods into this country, he has imposed tariffs on imported goods into this country.
But he says that if you have a company,
yes,
and you're importing stuff, but you bring that business over here, and we get the jobs. I'm going to give you another way. We get the jobs and whatever. Don't worry about that tariff piece, because they're not important anymore.
Right. Well, that would mean that they're manufacturing things in America.
Well, okay.
With raw goods in America.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I said.
Right.
Use that language. Okay. Use that language. Okay. Now they got the raw goods.
They have to have raw goods in America, made in America.
And they make it in America. They will not have to worry about tariff, because guess what? They don't.
Right.
Okay.
I'm not disagreeing with you there,
Okay.
Bruce.
So we good.
But if they're importing raw goods from a different country, those raw goods will be tariffed as they come into America.
Oh yeah, I understand that.
To be processed in America.
I'm not talking about that one. See, right now, like you say, because he even made the point is that right now is that when we do with the same nation aspect of it, they charge us.
Yes.
And in some cases, the same person that we go into that country, they charge us. And then on the other hand, we are not charging them.
We're not charging them as great a tariff as they are currently charging us.
Some was zero.
Some were zero, but he is now imposed through executive order reciprocal tariffs.
Right.
So if they are imposing a greater
10%,
if they're imposing a greater tariff than we currently have on them, it is now equalized. So our tariff, when they're importing anything to us, is equal to whatever they tariff our goods at.
Those companies that were basically charging us, and we...
No, those countries. So when we're exporting goods to their... in they're importing our goods, they were tariffing us, right? So when we're importing their goods, now we're...
our goods.
When we're importing their goods,
they're good, right?
Now the tariff rate is equal to what they tariff us at our goods being imported into their country.
That's right, equal deal.
It's a reciprocal tariff rate.
Right. Very simple.
Right.
Very simple.
And now the rates, and for some countries it's going to be a greater rate than a reciprocal tariff. So in Canada in Mexico, I think the rate's going to be 25%. It's just, and I think he's going to exponentially increase some of these tariff rates for certain countries if they fail to clean up their business practices, like China exporting fentanyl into our country. If they don't stop.
No, they got to get rid of that. That's what he's saying.
Right. Yeah. Well, they're not.
But they're still doing a lot of business. We're still doing a lot of business with China. That's going to be tariff.
Yes.
Equal.
I think more so, not reciprocal.
I can't go into that until
he is on the campaign trail. He promised 200% tariffs on some nations.
Where'd you get that from?
From him on the campaign trail.
Who's going to impose that on?
I think China.
You think? Use the right words. I
will look it up right now.
Check out your fact check there. Okay, so that's why I'm saying we're having these conversations, because too often we get into languages. That's the other major thing. See, the average person doesn't know anything about this, John. We're not privy to what's going on being transacted by our representative. That's a very important piece.
Okay, sorry, I apologize. So, if vehicle manufacturers decided to make vehicles in Mexico and import them from Mexico, he said that he would put a 200 or 500% tariff on those cars imported from Mexico. And that's why I think Ford decided not to build their...
Well, we're right in front, because see, he's thinking about manufacturing these cars here. See, so he got the deal. You see what I'm saying? Well, why do this right next to us, right? You know what I mean? So Mexico is not going to build the enormous building that they were going to be building. They made that point, remember? They were going to build that building. They were building on it then, remember? And then they cut it off. See? So he wanted a deal. Just by making that, as you say, that 200. We don't have to worry about it now. We cool. So now we know what
yeah, that was when he was on the campaign trail.
Right, that's right. But at the same time now, when he's sitting in that seat, he's got a Secretary of State. Okay, and it just so happened to be Rubio now. He had another one when he ran the first time around, but he understands it better now on this time around. Rubio, you just saw them on TV. So now Rubio is it. I'm saying to you that when he goes into that kind of a deal, he'll either inform Rubio. That's why he was sitting in that chair. That's his job.
Right. Well, and here on PBS, it is said that he has proposed a 60% tariffs on goods from China. So
Okay.
Trump has proposed pretty significant tariffs on other nations.
Okay. Well, I can appreciate that, but remember, what we were going to be talking about was the group, if you will, the responsibility of his staffers, if you will. I'm just saying, when he made the announcement, that's why we got to get away from just it's not just Trump sitting there. It's a whole bunch of folks.
Yeah, he's got a cabinet.
The Secretary of State, that's his job, to be able to communicate, if you will, with the various nations, if you will. And then, but it's the decision, if you will, of the boss, and he brings back the meat to the table. It has to adhere to whatever, to whatever, if you will, what he should be looking for. I mean, he's got a job. Okay, good. So for the viewing audience, that works well that way, and then so that's the Secretary of State with the president aspect of it. Now he has the vice president there, thinking about the definition of the vice president. And by the way, all of these individuals now in this particular case, the Secretary of State is appointed by the president.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yes.
The vice president.
And he had bipartisan support from both Democrats and Republicans.
No, but again, I'm saying he now comes under he comes under the president of these United States. That's his boss, his direct boss.
Right.
I'm sure they vote, they go through that process, and the same thing with the vice president. He appoints the vice president of these United States, and still go through that process. Got me? But at the end of the day, and it makes sense, because he's the chairperson of the board, or the president of the company, something like that, the lead person of the country, and that's why they're there. And like we talked about this the other day, is that when by doing that, and that helps out. I think it helps out with the populace, who have been basically just thinking they were just employees. The voting public think they're employers, because the employees, i.e. the voting public, are employers. They basically hired President Trump through the vote.
Yeah.
In a very layman's standpoint, he's an employee of the voting public, and he's not just the employee. He's not just the employee of one party. He's an employee of all parties.
That's correct.
See what I'm saying? So the voting public needs to know that. So the key is that. So then you say, well, I have no control. Well, yes, you do. Now let's talk about what happened. Well, first off, you are responsible. So if you didn't vote for the person, that person is still the chairman of the board. It's just like anything else. He's the chairman of the president. See what I'm saying? Once he gets voted in the public, we got a process, right? We vote. That's what we do. Yeah, that's the voting public. So it's important that you know that particular piece. Now, if you've got any concerns with that piece, now we can get right into the Congress, right? Got me? Because those issues are brought. That's that checks and balances, so to speak, that we have in our form of government, and we elect another body, the congressional delegation, and those are normally the representative, and then we got the senatorial. As opposed to they use a senatorial piece for the senators, and they represent so many congressional seats, as opposed to the congressman representing a specific district, right? Got me? And again, too, same thing. They are employees of the voting public, because we have to vote them in. The voting public has to vote them in. And too often, the perception is that we have nothing to say about it. Once that person gets in that office, they can do whatever they want to. And they can just only represent people that they want to represent. And a lot of times that gets to be a problem, because a lot of times people will call these folks up, and they'll give them the runaround. They won't even represent it. They have every right to make sure that those phones are answered by those employees. Fair?
Well, yes. Actually, can I read to you? So,
what you thinking about now?
I'm thinking this sounds an awful lot about like several men, a handful of men back almost 250 years ago, who were frustrated with a rule of government that was not representing them properly here in this nation.
Who are you talking about now?
a group of men on the East Coast that were in 13 distinct colonies. And they were frustrated with a king who decided that he knew best for them. And he was ruling over them.
No,
and he was telling them what to do.
Who are you talking about? What group are you talking about? You talking about Britain now, right?
I'm talking about, Great Britain.
Great Britain.
Great Britain and King George.
King George. And a lot of those folks that we're talking about were sent here by King George. The same people you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And they kind of got together. You know, you get a little selfish sometimes, saying, "Wait a minute, we got a bunch of water sitting around here. We've been sitting down here. We've been sent by the king to supervise the stuff and sent the best of the foods and stuff back."
They were. Some of them were sent to rule, but
we're talking to the public now.
Some of them were sent to rule, but some of them were just sent here for a better life, for religious freedom, for the ability to just live their lives the way that they felt they needed to, right?
I thought it was just the opposite. They just sent all of the derelicts and all kinds of stuff. Folks.
No, that was Britain to Australia. They sent all of the derelicts, prisoners to Australia.
Okay, all right.
The penal colony.
Right, but my point is that they sent a bunch of folks here.
They sent a bunch of folks here for a better life.
And send the goods and everything else back to Britain.
Right. This was an economic.
That's right.
Bastion of the Great Britain. Great Britain was very good at colonizing the world.
That's right. They were doing it. Send the goods.
Yes.
Okay. Send the gold.
And this group of men, they were religious. They believed in God, and they had this fire within them. They believed that the life that they were living was not the life that God had entailed for them. They believed that God had a purpose for them that was not under the subject of this king who did not care about them. All he cared about was the money that they could provide to him,
now,
was that
written down in a situation where what you're sharing us with here right now? Is that something that you can get, that you can access to and get that history?
Yeah, actually, I think there is. So there's a document that these men wrote together when they were tired of the oppression that they had faced. They were tired of the injustices that they were going through.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm not trying to rush you, but we got a whole bunch of other good.
Right. Well, I wanted to read just a little bit of it, if that's okay. A little bit.
We're going on. You're losing time right now.
Well, I think we've got a little bit of enough time. The reason why I want to read it is because this is an important part of what we started the show off with, where the people need to know why they're the employers and not the employees.
That's fair.
Because the text that's written here tells them why.
I got the point.
So first it starts with the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. So they tell the king, we're no longer your colonies. We are 13 states in America. We are seceding from your rule. And then it says, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. So they're entailing, we're going to give you the reason why we're separating from you, and why God is impelling us to do this, why this is occurring. Yes.
Yeah, keep going.
We hold these truths.
I heard what you said.
We hold these truths. Well, but I want to explain, because you know, we hold these truths to be self-evident. That all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men deriving their powers from the consent of the governed.
Okay.
So government is instituted by men, and they can only receive their power from the people that they govern.
And at that particular time, women were not involved. Well, right, because you had to own land. I mean, it's my understanding. You had to own land, and you had to be a male.
That's correct.
Okay, in all due respect, you had to be a white male at the time.
At the time, yes.
Okay, and that's a fact. Okay, you got me?
You're right.
Okay, so and it was kind of like comparable to the system that they were already acquainted with. That's why I said that they were part and parcel of the management group that the king sent over. They basically took that same piece, but they basically changed some things. You know, it's not going to be a king now. There's going to be a president, right? There's going to be a chairman of the committee or whatever. But those guys wrote that piece up. They all the responsible men owners, slave owners, and all that kind of stuff, right? You got me? Mm-hmm. But they put the piece together.
Well, and so they explain that it's the power. So it's the consent of the governed that the government is to be ruled, right? It is through the consent of the governed. But then they explain that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
Okay, we got that. That was the piece. That's
it. Yeah, right.
That's
right.
The whole piece. That's the whole piece.
I know you want me to stop. So, but what is important for us to understand here is that if the government is not working the way that we want it to, as those who are being governed and giving the consent of the government because we are governed, and we give the power of the government to them because we are governed, that we can change it. We can make changes to the government.
Did they clearly state that that they were employees of the citizens of the colonies?
It says, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So they can only have their powers only given from the people that they are governing.
Okay.
So they are the employees of the people that they are governing.
No, the employers who are...
No,
not them. I'm talking about
the government is the employee of the people that they are governing, the employer, the people.
Okay.
I know the language is it's 250 years ago, so the language is a little different, but they wrote it specifically. So the government only works in concert with the people that they are governing with.
Now, government, the word government is my understanding. The government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Am I right?
That's correct.
Okay, so those are the employers, right?
Government is the employers? Is that what you're saying?
Government, the definition, like we use government, so just everybody hears the word about government. Government, this government. No, government. The definition of government is the government. The definition of government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. Fair. I mean, just keep it in basic slave form. The people.
Yeah.
They're the employer. Government. The government is the employer, if you want to use that. But realistically, it's the definition of it is of the people, by the people, and for the people. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that's what the institution of the Constitution states, is of the people, by the people, for the people.
Okay, well, that's what I'm just sharing.
That's what our Constitution says.
They're the employer.
The dictionary says the governing body of a nation, state, or community.
Right, okay. But it's such in the form such that it doesn't break it down to the individual that we're talking to. That's what we're talking about. Because we're trying to educate them about their involvement.
But I liked what they say. What the founding fathers say is, whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, meaning they are not taking their...
Watch yourself, man.
Hold on. I'm constructing my thought. You got to be very careful here.
Oh, that's right.
They are not taking their direction from the people that they are governed by, right? They're not taking their direction from the people.
Oh, I don't buy that.
Well, hold on. Let me finish.
Keep going.
If they are not taking direction from the people and they are doing what they want, it is the rights of the people to alter or abolish said government. That is what the Founding Fathers said in this declaration.
Okay, I said the same thing. The government, the employers, their employees. You agree with that?
Yeah, the people are the employers, the government are the employees.
And the people who basically put the piece together, like you said, they're employees, right?
The Founding Fathers saw themselves as the employees of the people.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so I want to make sure that we make sure that we clear it, because they need to hear that more and more often, that they are employers, the voting public.
They are.
And a lot of times, sometimes during that particular time, the people per se were not as involved with the management of the of government during that particular time.
Well, so you can think of
That's
it
how it all
as
started.
You can think of the way at the beginning or through the revolution, there were three parties in the revolution. There were the pro-American movement, the pro-British movement, and the I just want to live my life movement.
Yeah.
I mean, we can kind of see it echoed in our day right now.
Well, they consider
the pro-Democrat movement, the pro-Republican movement, and the pro-Leave Me Alone movement.
Well, you got other movements. You got the Libertarian Party. You got a conglomerate of that.
Libertarians just want to be left alone.
You got Independent Party. No. They have the right to say no. I don't make that statement now, because I'm very familiar with the Libertarian Party. They feel that they're just as responsible. They just don't have the numbers.
Okay. Well, so let me the Revolutionary War, pro-American, pro-British, and I just want to do what I'm doing. I don't want to be involved on either side.
Well, that's during that time.
During that time.
And that's the definition that you got. Let's go on now.
So I personally see it. I mean, right now it's pretty polarizing, and left versus right is a very polarizing demographic, and there are a lot of people who get really involved with politics and get very angry at each other when it's left versus right. But I see a lot of people day by day in my job who just want to go to work and be left alone and don't want to be bothered with the politics of the day.
But you have to recognize they are still employers. That one vote could change a race.
You're right.
And so my point is that everybody that's out here on this end of it have one vote. They are employers. Now they may have a group. They might be a part of a group, i.e. a large group, Republican Party, larger group, Democratic Party, and then you got the Independent. I mean, that's their right. They still have a vote. They still participate. They're still involved. Equally, they got that one vote.
Right.
Because a statement from, let's say, a Libertarian Party or a Green Party or whatever could be a difference, if you will.
Well, I think riding down the middle is the safest place at this point. Riding down the middle.
But that's not our choice. No, I mean, that's an opinion you have right now, see.
Well, but
theirs is just as important, being a Green Party. I don't give a darn if they got 5 people in it, but if they've got a party, they feel just as important, and we got to respect them just as if I'm part of a 50,000 group. Or 5 people, it don't matter. It's the one vote piece. Everybody has one vote. The person with 50 entities don't have, each of them doesn't have 50 votes. It's one vote. They've got 50 votes, individuals. And they differ too. Even the parties differ. I may have my shingle down here with the Independent Party, but guess what? I was a Republican. I mean, because I'm on the show aspect of it, I can talk to Republicans and Democrats, and Green parties and the whole 9 yards. I'm trying to be nonpartisan here, trying to be. That's what we're trying to do. You know what I mean? Because I want to make sure that they understand that the power is in that vote.
Yeah.
Everybody that's looking at you got one vote, and you can deal with it. So now anybody that gets elected by those entities, at the end of the day, those are still the employees of all of these entities over here, the voters. And they should be able to communicate with those folks sitting in the seat, whether they voted with them or not.
I agree.
And a lot of folks out there don't feel comfortable with that. They feel that, well, if you're a Republican, so you don't, Democrats are in, so consequently you don't mean anything. Yeah, I mean, really, in a raw sense.
I know what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with
see,
you.
So we need to let the folks know, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing now, and that's why John read that piece. That's the beginning. These were people that were sent. Let's say just basic. They were sent down here as supervisors from the king. And
I don't think all of them were sent by the king to be supervisors.
But for some strange reason, they got here. They got here to this land. Maybe they swam the ocean or something, whatever. But they got here. Every one of them had a boat. As an individual, so to speak. We still did. And then from the king's standpoint, his thing. He was a king. He wasn't a president, but he was a king. They defined it to a certain degree. Got me? And they still have the king sitting over there. Got me? But they got but basically in an indirect way, let's say if we were to say, well, who's the president of England right now, so to speak? It's the ambassador, basically that's the kind of the guy that sits and talks to the world and whatever, and the king sits up in the.
Well, they have a prime minister.
Yeah, prime minister. Well, yeah, basically same. That's it. So, but with us.
But there's still a monarchy. They King George, or what is it? Is it King George?
Yeah, but I'm just saying. I'm just trying to keep it as simple as possible to the average voter here on this end of it. Between the two of us, we got a president. Bang.
We have an elected president. We're a constitutional republic.
Right.
Not a democracy, a constitutional republic.
That's right. But we still have that vote. You're still the employer, and you have say. Still comes down to the back. You still have say. And that's the point which really, that's what John and I, we're trying to really bring it across. You got it. You are involved. You do have, your vote does count. I mean, your vote does count. And understand, if you act according to the employees, these are my employees. So when you when you want to talk before the school board, let them know who you are, because they're still your employees. Those folks were all elected. You are the employer. And so consequently, don't be afraid to get up there and say your side, or say whatever you have on your mind. And don't leave the platform until they explain themselves as to what you're asking for. It's very important. That's why I've always said that when a person gets up before, and I learned that early on, I would say point blank to them, if I'm sitting as an employer aspect of it, I'm expecting these people to repeat what the questions that I asked, so they understand what I said. And too often they don't do that, because the person sitting behind that podium that way, even though the employees are afraid, and that's why a lot of folks don't get before the point. And they may have some good points. They need to be elected, but in all due respect, there are situations where folks will say, well, gee whiz, I don't have a degree, or I don't have a law degree, something to that effect. So they're a little bit more articulate to the dictionary. But hey, that's not the game. The bottom line is that, what do you bring to the table to solve the problem? And in most cases, you basically hired these interpreters, so to speak. That's their job. But a lot of them forget that, because then it's the money.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get going. Now we talked about the president, that piece. Let's get here locally from this standpoint here in the Portland metropolitan area aspect of it. Same thing. And I think that when we got this new form of government now.
Yeah.
I think the employees pretty well control that situation. You got me? And they never educated, in many ways, educated the masses. That's why a lot of folks didn't vote.
Well, so here's my thing. So they said they were going to, maybe you could speak to this. I don't know, because I'm not in Portland. I drove down I-5 today, and I'm noticing more and more homeless off of I-5.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we were done with that.
No. Well, one, you got Washington.
Okay.
We got Clackamas.
Yeah.
And we got Portland, Oregon, right? Got me?
Okay.
And so even in Lake Oswego, look, we don't want them here.
No, they're not in Lake Oswego.
No, we don't want them. No, we don't want them here.
Right. Well, so
and we'll give you a pass, or we'll shoot you.
But
over.
I thought the camping ban was was instituted and
for downtown.
But they're
still there.
Okay, but I'm seeing them underneath the overpasses.
I'm hearing you.
There. So what happened to Mayor Wilson's?
Well,
what happened?
Well, what happened is that he was elected saying that he was going to be able to solve that problem, and he basically hasn't solved the problem.
Okay, so what happened to the city council?
Well, guess what? Same thing.
Okay.
They're focusing all downtown. They're not even talking to the people that are employers in the neighborhoods, right?
Okay.
You know what I mean? And they don't answer their phones.
So they implemented all that extra money to themselves.
That's right.
In a deficit.
That's right.
And then the homeless are starting to camp out again.
Right.
And be more prevalent and more. You could see them again.
I'm agreeing with you, and that was on the ballot.
It was,
and the media laid it out from the standpoint. Here are the 4 major issues of concern. That was supposed to be the platform of the folks who want to run for office. That's what the platform was. And in fact, it went beyond that point because in the organizational, when they put that committee together to define the rules and the regs, if you will, of this new group, so to speak, they came up with, bottom line, this is their job. This is their job. And then all of a sudden, there was kind of like and just go fast forward, then the folks got elected. And they started changing the things. Now they'd already said that this is your job. and the people who ran said that they didn't say, well, okay, fine, we're going to do the job at whatever, and this is what I was given to do the job. But they said, no, we're not going to do it this way. We're going to ask for more. We need more staffers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
We're going to change this. We're going to change that. Well, see, guess what? Somebody should have stood up. Let's say the mayor might have should have been able to stand up. The new mayor, maybe. The media basically laid it out to them and said, well, wait a minute here. That's not what... A lot of people are very disgruntled. In fact, so the only option one has is, guess what? Recall.
I mean,
that's a vehicle. I hate to put it that way, but you don't want to do it this way at this point in time. I think that could be a good responsibility for the mayor's office to be able to educate the people about, hey, he's the mayor. He's sitting at the. However, he only has a vote in a tie vote or something to that effect. And we're supposed to have a city manager too. See, you got me?
Yeah.
They don't even know anything, the definition of how they're going to approach these various bureaus. Because they can't make the decision on the bureaus. Some say, I guess you can vote on it. But the point I'm making is that it's confusing now.
Yeah.
And that's why they're sitting all at city council. They got a refurbished city council that was there before, not sitting in the district like they're supposed to be, knocking on doors. There was somewhat of a knocking on doors when they ran for office, but guess what? You could hire a contractor to do the work for you. And if you knew the system and hired the contractor, and the contractor performed on his job, you're sitting in the seat.
Right.
So now you got a bunch of folks that are basically OJT, and on-the-job training. And I'm not trying to knock them to a certain degree. I'm just saying that's what we left on that's what the voter left on the table as an employer. You didn't tell the folks what you wanted. And now we got a group of folks, and the folks are upset about it. All employers are. So the next step is, what are you going to do as an employer? You call down to the office, and I'm not trying to be negative about this thing. That's quite a bit of money we've already spent up to this particular point in time.
Yeah, well, I mean, this article from Oregon Live says there's a $104 million shortfall in homeless service funds, and what are they going to do? You got the county, the same thing, and then now, in all due respect, you've got the president saying on his platform, he's saying, hey, he's going to cut government. He's going to cut services from government because the government got to pay for it. Government pays for it. The people. Yeah.
See? And so he said that, and people voted, but they voted on the issues. He was going to do this, and now he's doing the issue piece. He's doing it, but here in the city of Portland, we're not doing that. We're going. It's sort of like boot camp. I've been in the military. You go to boot camp to get the basics. What you're supposed to do. So when you graduate, you do as you're told.
Yeah, you do.
And we don't have that now. They're basically trying to. That's why we're doing the show the way we're doing. You got to get more responsible. You got to call these people. Go back to square one. We're not going to have no extra secretary. This is what we voted on. Do it.
Something needs to change.
But guess who's supposed to take the lead on that? And who has stepped up to take the lead on it? It's my understanding. Was it one or two? Let's see. I think Dan Ryan or something was one, and some of the folks that were already in the process. But that folks that were in the process were part and parcel of putting people on the committee to come up with the new plan.
Yeah.
You think they would basically stand up, but then it was a majority vote by people who were looking at one thing at 130 pop, routine, and it's not taken out of their pot. They didn't say anything about, well, let's take the $4 million out of the new people coming on. If you got let's say you get $1.4 million, you can get $500,000 or $75,000 each. They could pick up another staff member.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't lost that much money.
No.
Those jobs are about 150,000 shot. But my point is, there was nobody there to tell them, no, you can't do that. You do the work that we are the committee. Go back to the committee and let them have the discussion. But they already voted on it. So who's going to stand up and speak up? Who's going to represent the people? Who are the employers?
I don't know.
And so they need a lobbyist. And more, in the past administration, the lobbyist was the mayor. Indirectly.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? But again, just like we're talking here now, you need to have those discussions too. Mm-hmm. But then don't get angry at what we're saying, what John and I are saying. We're telling you basically what we see, what facts we could come up with, because we're trying to solve the problem. We're trying to make this city great again. We want the city of roses, and it just bothers me to think that how are you going to get a non-paying employee entity, not being that paid, moving downtown? It don't make sense.
No.
But you still need to respond to taking care of those folks to get them back into the productive society. But you don't do it downtown. They have to have a place to stay. They have to have food and all this stuff, the medical and stuff. But hey, find a place. And there's opportunities there. I've talked about it, but we don't have the time to talk to it now. The key is that it's you. You're the voter. You put them there. Whether you voted for them or not.
Yep. You
have the right, if you will, to change. You can say no to this. Mm-hmm. And all you have to do is call up the mayor of the city of Portland. Call up Keith Wilson and say, hey, you guys voted. The commissioners voted against this. Why is it that you couldn't? Why is it that you couldn't say no, regardless of what the vote is? Why? Well, I can't because I did. Okay, fine. Change that vote. Change it. Go back to the committee. And if you're the city, because right now people are too afraid to sit up there and do a recall, go out there and try to demonstrate downtown or demonstrate. Who do you call? You call the person that just got elected, picking up $150,000?
You should.
No, but understand what I'm saying. You got to understand now. You're talking about the monetary. You start messing around with folks' money. And say, look, I ran for even if they said the money. A lot of them looking at that, and you can look at some of you can look at the commission meetings. In most cases, they're just basically trying to learn what the job is now, what they want to do. But they should be knocking on the doors and letting those people know that, hey, I'm going to be representing you. Why have 12? Why have 12 commissioners? You got 3 commissioners. It's kind of like 3 commissioners per district.
Right.
You ought to divide that district into thirds. And then each one of them would be able to go out in their respective third and knock on that door and say, my name is Joe Blow, and I'm here to do this. Is this the thing that you're concerned with?
Yep.
But they're not doing that.
I know.
And so that responsibility goes back to you, the voter, to yell about it. I want to change something. I don't want to, I'm not asking for more money. I'm just saying change the deal. I want to see a commissioner on my step. I want to see the office up in the parks. I can't park downtown right now. I'm a senior citizen. I'm in a crush, but I'm a vote.
Goes back to what we were saying earlier.
Yeah,
Go
see,
do something about it.
Let's do something about that piece. Okay. So we hit that piece, but that's basically, just like what John was saying. He basically told you how we all started. Now, if you want to, go to the library. You can pick up the same deal. If you don't have a computer, they got them there. You can use them.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to Oregon Historical Society. There it is. You can go to YouTube. There it is. You know what I'm saying? If you want to go through that. But right now, you're a vote. It's affecting you. That extra money. A lot of you, in fact, one having tough times just trying to make the mortgages and stuff like that. And the food. They talk about egg and this, that, and that. That's what they should be talking about.
Yeah.
Representing you. They're the employers. They're getting paid to do that.
No, they're not the employers. They're the employees. The government officials are the employees.
But the voters. I was saying about the voters.
Oh, the voters.
The voters, see. But I'm just saying now, no, hey, look, you want some eggs? Tell that employee to bring you some eggs. You want a dozen eggs. Yeah, you can have some.
Yeah.
Well, I paid for them already. What do you mean? I paid for the vote.
Mm-hmm.
And whether I didn't like it, whatever, but the fact that I still paid.
Yeah.
You don't become Republicans and Democrats separately. As if to say, if the Republican figure got the numbers and got the person elected, it doesn't say no that only the Democrats pay. No, it don't work that way. Is that fair?
I think so.
Well, John, boy, I tell you, another hour.
Yep.
But we're sharing with you the voting public. You're the employers we're talking to now. No, not the employees. Get angry, but you don't have to worry about getting stressed out about the whole piece. You're in control. You paid it. You paid the bill. They're working for you. Okay? So on that note, get together with your neighbors. Tell the people to come and put together a meeting and have those people come to your house. You don't need 3 of them there. But you have the addresses too. Get the one closest to you. Because they're supposed to live in the district.
Supposed to.
And John said they will be in the district.
No, I didn't say that. You said that.
I'm saying it now. I'll take it, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Pick up the phone and call up your district person. You got 3 of them there, and tell them that you want them to come to your house and share with them your concerns. Right off the bat. On that particular note, we're going to give it up. Hey, take care. We'll see you next week. Have a good one. John, always a